All right, welcome back to another daily dose of Mike Mynar. Got my two guys here learning. We're out here in the wilderness, right? Out here having some fun. But I want you guys to write this down and understand this. This is very, very important to the training. If I told you that there was $1,000 under a rock, everybody jump up out of your chairs and go find a bunch of rocks, all right? If I told you there was $1,000 under a rock, and I gave you specific directions on how to get to that rock, and you decide to deviate from those directions, do you really think that you're going to find the $1,000? Now we know human nature, we like to deviate. Human nature, we like to take shortcuts. We don't even like to look at maps. Men don't like looking at maps. We like to figure out our direction. We like to figure out how to get there. We think we can do it, right? Well, I say this is very important because what I'm going to teach you in the 10-step, guys, you're going to want it to become internal. You're going to want to use it, because when you do use this process, I can guarantee you, I know if you're utilizing it and you're doing everything you're supposed to, you should expect a 50+% close rate. You should expect to be very good at it. Not only that, but you'll get yourself discounts everywhere you go. So you guys have the personality, that's why you're in here. I can't teach personality, okay? I've tried to figure out how to do that. I can't do that. But I can take a person with personality and I can teach them this process and they can create success. The most successful guys I ever had is because they lived and died by the process. They would actually fight other people that would argue with them and tell them they're not doing it right, or try to tell them, oh, you don't need to do that. They'd be like, no, you're crazy. I was taught this, Mike taught me this, it works, it's created a lot of business for me. Guys, I live by it. My last 15 years of doing this has been this process that I'm going to teach you. So if you feel differently, if you think differently, you have your own way, well, it's not going to work in this process, guys. But once you see how it works, you'll understand what I mean. But I want you to remember that statement, because when I was 21 years old, that was the first thing said to me by my coach and my mentor back then. First thing he said to me, Mike, if I told you there was $1,000 under a rock and I gave you specific directions on how to find that rock, and Mike, you decide to deviate from those plans that I gave you or those directions, do you really honestly think you're going to find that rock? Okay. And I think using the rock sounds cool because what do we have out here? Huh? What do we have out here? A ton of rocks, right? So there's $1,000 under a rock over there. I'll give you a specific direction, you go find it yourself, what you want to do. Right, right. So those directions will be able to direct you the right way. So I wanted you to remember that, okay? If I told you there's $1,000 under a rock and I gave you specific directions on how to find that rock, and you decide to deviate from those directions, do you, not me, but do you honestly think you're going to find that rock? And the reason why this is important, guys, is because what I'm going to coach you and teach you on is designed, A1, to give you a system and a structure and a flow for you to create the sell. It's also designed, remember the 5 parts to learning, and reinforcement, it's designed to where you can reinforce, I can reinforce back where you may be deviating or getting lost along your path. Now, one thing about the 10-step is this is a classroom, right? Where it's like we're in a classroom, right? The path changes that you're walking on. The adventure can change. The 10-step process doesn't change. However, the obstacles, the things that you're going to face, I'm not telling you that on your way to that rock that a tree decided to fall over in the middle of your path and you got to figure out how to get over it. I'm not, sit here and tell you that a car broke down, all kinds of things can happen along the way, but you've got to stick. What I mean by it is you got to find your way back to the original path. And the reason why I say that is because every customer can be a little bit different. Things can happen different in a house. You won't be able to perform this step right away or get it done right because they're not allowing you to. You got to get back to it, though. You got to be persistent. I used to sit there with my notes, and this is why notes are important. I used to sit there with my cheat sheet right in there in my binder on the floor on top of my bag where they couldn't see it. And when I would look at it and I get lost and I go, crap, what step am I in and what's its purpose? What am I doing? And I'd look down and I go, oh, I'm in step 3. How long have I been in it? 10 minutes. So what I just said, I want you to write down. It's important. What step am I in? What step am I in? What step am I in, and what's its purpose? And how long have I been in it? Because each step I'm going to teach you also has a certain amount of time investment. It definitely has a purpose behind it, and you got to know what that purpose is. So it's the reason why this is all important. I want you to understand that, because guys, I promise you with all my heart and soul that if you follow that steps and you follow that process, you will find that rock more times than not. And then you will be able to self-coach yourself. The way I got better was I was coaching and teaching others, but I'd also be able to self-coach myself, self-analyze. It's game tape. Professional, we're professionals, right? Can I get a hoo-ah? Who's a professional?
Hoo-ah.
Right? We're a professional, right? We're professional salespeople, right? We're not just jack of the trades, you know, whatever. We are professional salespeople. This is what we do. It's just like a professional sports player, right? That guy trains and is coached specifically on how, if he's a quarterback, you know, Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl, right? The guy wouldn't have been able to done that if he didn't follow specific steps on how to be a quarterback, would he? If he didn't have specific procedures on what he was supposed to do to be that quarterback every single time, he would have never made it to the Super Bowl, would he? That's right, that's the discipline of following it, right? Following those steps. So it's very, very important that you guys remember that. We're going to end that first section on here. Thank you guys for joining in. We'll see you real soon again.